So this is going to be my first movie review on this channel, so I hope everyone kind of takes it easy on me a little bit. But I've been wanting to do this review ever since I saw this film last month, and that is Greenland. Now, Greenland is a global disaster movie starring Gerard Butler, who is trying to basically protect his family from the coming calamity and get them to safety. The overall premise of the plot is this series of comets are supposed to be quote-unquote passing by Earth, and then some of them are going to enter the atmosphere, and it's supposed to create this magnificent light show. But of course, nothing is as it seems. The government is actually lying to the people, because it is actually in fact a global extinction event level impact that the comet is going to have on Earth. And only a select number of people in the United States are being selected to have them and their immediate family taken to a hidden underground shelter to withstand the blast and then help rebuild society. Since Gerard Butler plays a architectural engineer, he is labeled as one of the ones to be selected to go to this shelter. Now, when he does get the alert on his phone, he realizes that not everybody is getting the same alert, and he realizes that this could be something significant. Now, one of the main side stories to this is the fact that he is trying to rebuild his relationship with his wife, and he is just now moving back into his house to kind of repair the marriage. I don't want to give too much away in this movie because I really want people to watch it themselves, because I thoroughly enjoyed this. So basically, they get packed up, they leave. There's a lot of emotional trauma in this where they're trying to leave and everyone is so confused in the neighborhood. They're trying to figure out why Gerard Butler got the notification on his phone and everyone else didn't. And there's a lot of back and forth. They're trying to leave. Someone in the street is crying, begging them to take their daughter, and eventually Gerard just says, is able to say, we can't. They won't let us, and they just leave. Fast forward to them getting to the airfield. There's some complications with their son getting onto the plane. I'm really trying to choose my words carefully because, as I said, I don't want to give too much, but needless to say, something happens and they're not able to get the evacuation at the Air Force Base that they went to. They get separated in the event, and they had agreed to meet in the event of something like that at the wife's father's home in Lexington, Kentucky. Now, on this trek that Gerard Butler goes on to try and meet them there, he finds out that there is a rumor that some pilots right past the border of Canada on the northeast side are taking civilians to this bunker in Greenland, and their hope is that if they can reach Greenland and they reach that base that's there where the underground bunker is, they'll be able to make a run for the bunker, and that they'll just let them in. Like, I think there was like the theory was that if people could get there, they'll let them in, they won't turn them away. So he figures that's our best shot. And I'm going to kind of leave the overall premise there as it is. I'm just going to talk about my reaction to this film. I didn't really know what to expect going into the movie. The previews, of course, everything looks kind of, they're showing all the action scenes and the explosions and stuff like that. And really, I thought this was going to be like, this is going to be like 2012, Michael Bay, explosions everywhere, not really a whole lot of strong acting. That couldn't be further from the truth. The acting in this movie and the character writing was very strong. Nothing that happened in this film, nothing happened in this film that made me think, okay, that's ridiculous. These people are acting, just clueless or crazy. I mean, of course, in a calamity like this, people are going to act insane. But mixed in with the people who are clearly have just gone mad and just doing whatever they want. You see a lot of pure humanity in a lot of situations. And you even see humanity being tested on certain people, and they don't break their resolve to do what they're supposed to do. And there's other cases where someone is acting in good faith, but then slowly they lose their humanity, and they try and do something desperate to try and save themselves. Now, there is one scene in particular that I did take issue with, but the reason why it happened was because it was a plot point in order to keep Gerard Butler from reaching a certain point, in order for him to eventually get to Lexington, Kentucky. So it was the scene that happened was so kind of far-fetched. I was like, I don't really think that would happen, but I understood why they had to write that in there. They had to have a reason for Gerard Butler to exit the situation that he was in order for him to eventually rendezvous with his family in Lexington, Kentucky. So, but the writing, the sequence of events, the emotional parts between him and his family, so much of it seemed so real and down to earth and realistic. It really made you feel for the characters. There wasn't too many things over the top, and honestly, the action scenes of like the comets and stuff like that wasn't really all too over the top. It was more or less the story of just this one family trying to survive, as opposed to this whole global catastrophe, and you're seeing millions of people die and all that stuff. Don't get me wrong, the visuals are pretty cool, and it is pretty neat seeing some of the action sequences, but the foundation of this film is about family making it through, getting through to the end, and the human connection, and and of course the lack of human connection in certain desperate situations. There was a lot of scenes where things got really, really emotional, and you saw the pure desperation in people. And there was also a scene towards the end where they are making an escape, and you see like a bunch of people trying desperately to catch up to them, only to be left behind. And throughout the entire film, I was constantly wondering, are they going to make it? Is Gerard going to make it? Because there were a few moments where I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know if Gerard Butler is going to survive. I don't know if he's going to sacrifice himself. I don't know. There were a few points where I thought something's going to happen. And thankfully, some things turned out that didn't happen. But there was one scene in particular that I was like, oh my God, this is it. This is where it's gonna happen. And I won't say whether it did or not, but I was like, yeah, this is definitely it, because they really built it up to that point for that to be the outcome. And then of course the ending kind of lets you sit for a little bit, because you're not sure if they're going to show the aftermath or not. There's like a huge scene where Gerard, Gerard has a flashback and all that stuff of his life, like basically his life flashing before his eyes. Yeah, and you don't know what happens. So, well, you don't know exactly what happens. The ending kind of lets you sit for a little bit, and you're not sure. They're like, oh my God, is that really how it ends? You don't really know. And but really overall, the emotions that come out of this movie are very strong, and you really throughout the entire film are really pulling for the characters. You're really, really hoping that they all make it. And it was a very, very strong film. I was surprised how much I enjoyed it. I highly recommend watching it. If you're into any of these kind of movies, you'll really enjoy it, even if you just want to watch it for the adventure that this family goes on. It's really great. I think it was really well done. I didn't really have too many arguments as far as the characters go, as far as the writing goes, as far as the plot. I mean, the plot was pretty simple, space disaster movie, but it wasn't horrible, not like Geostorm or something like that. or some of those other, or 2012, something that's just so far-fetched, you just can't believe it. But, this one, it was pretty significant what happened to the planet, but it honestly wasn't that far removed from reality. So, with that being said, I'm just going to wrap it up. Highly recommend Greenland. I'd give it, let's say, if we want to go 5 stars, I'd say I'd give it like a 4. I'd give it a 4, maybe a 3.5, but some people would probably give it a 3.5, but I give it a 4 just because of how much I was pleasantly surprised by the film. I went in without a huge, had with a low ceiling of expectations, and it broke through that ceiling. And I was like, wow. My girlfriend and I were talking about it even into the next day at breakfast. We were like, man, that movie was really good. We talked about it. And any movie you see with someone that has you talking about it the next day, in my opinion, is either a really good movie or a terrible movie, because it could go either way. So with that being said, very basic movie review. With these reviews, I try not to get into too many spoilers unless I'm trying to save you from seeing a movie. But that's Greenland in a nutshell. Check it out. You can rent it on the PlayStation Store, I believe, Amazon Prime Video, or YouTube, or wherever you get your streaming from. And with that, I will see you all in the next one. Have a great day.